Well, good afternoon to you guys, and today I want to make a video on how to identify Cornus sericea, also known as Cornus stolonifera, or more commonly as Red Osier Dogwood, in the summertime. Now, I previously made a video on how to identify this plant in the winter, and I highly recommend you guys check it out if that's what you're interested in. I'll put a link in the description. But this is, of course, the summer, and during the summer, the plant looks like a much more inconspicuous shrub or small tree without seemingly that many identifiable characteristics, although there are actually overall more that you can use to identify the plant. So let's jump right into that. Firstly, for the branches, they are, as always, red when they are young, a very vibrant red color, but without the snow to stand out against, they're much more inconspicuous and hard to notice, and often totally shaded by the leaves, as we can see here, which makes them hard to see, but if you look a little bit closely, they're not hard to find. Speaking of which, the leaves, though they look very boring, are not without features. They are generally elliptic or ovate, actually more commonly ovate. That's basically a leaf shape where it is longer than it's wide, but not by that much, and wider towards the base than it is towards the tip. That's a good example of an ovate leaf, although sometimes they are elliptic, which is basically the same thing as ovate, except that the widest point is near the middle, or right on the middle, as this leaf sort of looks like. Of course, as I mentioned previously, all the leaves are opposite, as are the branches, because branches develop from buds at the base or of leaves. So for each leaf there is a number one right there, and the shoots can develop right from there, sometimes splitting, with the flower inflorescence or fruit inflorescence this time of year I should say, coming right out of the middle of that very often. More on that later. Speaking of the flowers, this is a little bit past season for when you normally find the flowers. It is already August 27th and you normally see them more in June or July, but I was able to find one little inflorescence still present this time of year, right there. This is a type of inflorescence known as a cyme, so it's of determinate growth, so it just won't keep growing. However big it grows is set for the year, and it just produces these small white flowers, which you can see right there. There's my hand for scale. That's a little bit washed out. And after they get pollinated, what you might find them looking like is this, after the petals fall off. These very green berries starting to develop. And as you get later into the year, you'll start seeing these lovely white fruits developing, like that. Now, I did mention in their video that they're normally white, and that's true, but they often have a sort of yellowish, greenish, or even bluish cast to them. That is not so noticeable here. Mostly here they are typical white of the plant. And that's what they look like. Often on the little inflorescence, you'll find these sort of black shriveled berries. I believe these ones just didn't get fertilized. Now, to be clear, it's not a berry per se. It is a drupe, so it has a hard seed inside. Berries are fleshy without a really hard pit. Other examples of drupes, if you're not familiar with that term, are peaches, cherries, or almonds, although with almonds what you're basically eating is the seed or pit. Those are all members of an unrelated family, the Rosaceae, the rose family. This is, of course, a member of Cornaceae, the dogwood family. And overall, this should give you a very good idea of how to tell them apart in the summertime, looking at these features from other look-alike plants. None, I don't think, in the range, at least around here in the Wasatch, will have all those same features. Some plants may look a little similar, like box elder, that's Acer negundo, because they'll have opposite branches and that are often red in color, although the leaves are totally different in shape and they are compound. So that is not a feature you find in this one. So it shouldn't be hard to identify this from other species in the area, at least here. I'm not so sure about the East Coast. To go over range one more time with this plant, it can be found quite widespread in North America in generally colder areas. So not in the South, not really in the Southwest, except in the mountains, but much more in the upper Midwest, into Canada and Alaska, as well as New England, and of course, all throughout the Rockies. And there's a different subspecies of this plant that is found in coastal California up to Oregon and Washington. Well, I don't know much about how to identify that one. So yeah, I hope you guys have a better appreciation for this plant and how to identify it. And one take.